the sword of Mercury. And today we're going to be talking about the ability of divine healing, or rather the phenomenon of divine healing, and how that actually takes place. So, if you're interested at all in that subject, stick around to the end, because it will be quite informative, I promise you. So, when we talk about divine healing, concepts around healing, we're usually referring to a phenomenon in which we are taking one form of energy and utilizing that to propel our body into a state of what they term as transmutation, or a state of change, or alchemy, right? So, what is really going on during this process is not so much imperative to understand if you're somebody who is able to conceptualize the feat from a spiritual level and that works for you, but for some of us who are prone to the sway of science, let's say, and like to have supporting, let's say, evidence in the field of science which explains such events or phenomenon or particle interaction taking place, and we must look at it from a different perspective. And in turn, because we see the scientific end, it could help us bridge the connection between the two and see the parallels. So, and I would use that phrasing exactly, see the parallels, because you're having a conceptualization of how you view that thing to be, and it's not so much about the way you view it as the way you view it relative to you, meaning that, one person might look at a form of art and get a very vivid inspiration from it, and all sorts of ideas will come into their mind, and somebody else might not have that, right? And maybe it takes some other form of maybe description to jog their mind to connecting the dots at that level, or experiencing that same profound insight that the other person had. So, when we talk about divine healing, and especially everyone talks about, like healing with light or love and light, this is really the concept we're talking about here. We're talking about a phenomenon actually that exists in physics and that we can see takes place with water. Let's bust out the tappy marker here. We don't need to write anything currently, but let's just go ahead and bust it out so we can tap away. I also today was at my tea mug. Got some nice iced tea. So, essentially we're talking about a phenomenon that is known as photodissociation. And what that means, or in short form, what that means is that when particles break down as a result of solar radiation, and because we are water, we are H2O, 75% anyway, we have the same ability to have that phenomenon exist within us. And this happens within the air medium when you probably see this phenomenon exists within this air medium when the bonds of hydrogen and oxygen and H2O form, when it's exposed to UV rays, it essentially, here, let me lean back, or maybe I gotta spin around. Yeah, it's like right in the middle of the chair. Anyway, essentially what it says here is H2O goes to H2, and O plus heat and light. So, or you can go the other way around. H2O essentially gets broken down into, you have two hydrogens and the one oxygen's a water, and it gets broken down by being exposed to solar radiation into two hydrogens, two oxygens, because what happens is when this occurs, it essentially breaks the bond that exists in its H2O form by this ultraviolet radiation. And when that occurs, you have the hydrogens broken down into being by themselves and the oxygens broken down to being by themselves. And essentially, what happens when this occurs is that when exposed to light in the atmosphere or in the air medium, it breaks the bonds that exist between the particles, and as we can see here, I don't know if you can actually see, but essentially combustion occurs. The H2 and the oxygen, when it goes through combustion, produces H2O, water, plus heat and light. So when one form changes to the other, there's kind of this explosion of energy, or release of energy that is produced when it goes from being water to going into the air medium. And the process can also be reversed from going from the air medium to water, but a substantial amount of energy is needed to actually reverse the process, such as a lightning strike in the atmosphere that would produce the amount of energy needed to transform H2 in the atmosphere and O2 back into H2O, because when this process occurs, it's losing an oxygen, but heat and light is being produced, and that's where that energy is going. So, in essence, you are basically removing one part of the molecular equation and having it expressed as heat and light, and in the other way, you are allowing heat and light to be lost and replaced by an oxygen. So, this kind of explains how water can go from its form of just being, I guess you can say, this almost substance basis or fluid basis, but it is a solid or liquid. So, but it's in a physical, tangible matter form which you could touch, right? It's in a form that has mass, you could quantify it. And then it moves to a more etheric or higher vibration state, vibratory state, in which when the vibration rises, the bonds are broken, and you now have them separated from each other. The interesting thing is that though the oxygens will continue to exist in the air medium, H2 is so light that it usually escapes the atmosphere. It's lighter than hydrogen, lighter than helium. Hydrogen's lighter than helium, even in H2 form. So, it's lighter than helium and it can escape the atmosphere because it's so light, so it floats away into space, into the vacuum of space. So that's essentially how energy can be transformed on this planet. And when we talk about the process of transmutation and the process of one form of energy moving to another, this is very relevant. And having this process exist in form where it is able to be seen, such as in the atmosphere, it would stand to reason that the same effect occurs within the human body if all the conditions are right. So this is why, like, say for example, sunlight is so important, because sunlight is shown in science to help express hundreds of genes in the body by just being in the sun, because sunlight is actually not vitamin like it's titled vitamin D. It's actually a steroid hormone. If you look it up, it's called vitamin D, but it's not actually a vitamin. It's a steroid hormone which helps your body express genes. So when this process is going on, it's similar to breaking the molecular bonds and transforming things, and this is the process of transmutation in its truest form. So we don't really have direct translation between what is on the board today and what is the topic that we are discussing today, but in any case, I thought if I could write anything down that, I don't know, just a little as pictures sometimes help describe stuff, and sometimes it's good to even just have your thoughts down, even if they don't directly relate to the subject. Like this is all just like thoughts. This you could say is important because, like, I'm talking about like how this goes to this and how this goes to this. And as we can see, like plasma, which is the form lightning takes on, is like a intermediary form or intermediary force. So photodissociation is what the phenomenon is called, and that is essentially what I have for you today on how you essentially have the same ability to transform yourself like the air, because you are air, you are water, you are all of these things. You are the same. The makeup that is within you is similar makeup to that which exists in the air medium and in the oceans and in the deepest seas, and even in this glass of tea here that I have, even in this glass of tea. So, just concerning the process of transmutation and how it can be, this is how this performed, right? So, as you can see, I have the little, like, yin-yang that is there, and then you have, like, it broken down from H2O into H2O2. So, that is what I have for you today. And the reason why I have the pyramid drawn here is because when we talk about how this can help heal ourselves, it means that you have the ability to transform, but you still need to focus on whatever it is that you want the change to go to. So, in essence, let's say you are wanting to or something. Or maybe it's more precise, like you want the benefits of some specific substance replicated in your bloodstream, such as a certain supplement. Then you can conceptualize what that substance is composed of, like even vaguely. It doesn't have to be like the actual chemical formula, but it could be like, I don't know, say you want the benefits of like a certain mushroom, like reishi mushroom or whatever, or lion's mane, or any of those, or like it could be any number of things, even iron. You can conceptualize it in your mind, and because you can conceptualize it in your mind, your body will make the chemicals in the system that are orientated with that thing, regardless of if you have the actual supplement in physical form or not, because your body is a chemical factory, so it can make any chemical it needs. The only thing that is needed for the process to take place is material matter, which is water, H2O, and energy, which is sunlight. And when the process takes place, it's almost like electrolysis, in which water is broken down, but now it can be broken down into a state that can create chemicals, create medicines that can be transformed back into the water. So that's what I have for you today. And here on the other side, we just have like the centers, root heart, third eye, and it's just the shapes describing the associated energy that is associated with them. So I hope you enjoyed watching today. I hope you learned something. Again, all we need to do is be able to see the parallels in science to actually understand how this stuff works. Because though everything might not have a direct translation, as in the science matches exactly the concepts, that the process is plausible, or it's conceptualizable, or you're able to visualize it or understand it or see how it could operate, is all that the spiritual self needs to understand the connection that can facilitate that process going on. If it cannot conceptualize the process or understand how it can happen, then you're not going to believe it's possible, and the spiritual self will not perform that task because it doesn't believe it's capable. But you are capable. You are so capable, and you are worthy. You are worthy to heal yourself. You are worthy to have the ability to alchemically transform yourself. You are worthy to have the ability to transmute your very being into that which you wish. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you enjoyed it in the comment section below. I encourage you to help like, subscribe, because it does help support the channel. You can check out my other channel, Moonstruck, in the description below. And again, this is the Prince of Mercury on the Sword of Mercury, bringing you more content around personal development, self-expression, and how we can continue our journey and advance ourselves. So again, I encourage you to like, subscribe, because it does help support the channel.